Hello and welcome back to some more Spongebob Squarepants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Well, last time we concluded our adventures in Jellyfish Fields, which was the first level of the game, and today we'll be starting up our second level of the game, which is Downtown Bikini Bottom. We need 5 golden spatulas in order to access this area, and we currently have 12, so way more than enough. So once you're ready to head to the next level, step on the taxi pad and enter Downtown Bikini Bottom.
Downtown Bikini Bottom, once a bustling metropolis, now a debris-covered crater.
SpongeBob, the robots are destroying Downtown Bikini Bottom. We have to evacuate!
All right, but it's gonna take a while to get all this dust.
Not vacuum, evacuate. We have to get everyone to safety.
Can we just load them up in the boats?
That won't do any good.
Why not?
Because the robots have taken all the steering wheels.
Couldn't we just drive in a straight line?
No, there are too many turns.
Those fiends, they've thought of everything. Never fear, Mrs. Puff, I'll get those steering wheels back.
SpongeBob, if you're involved, I always fear. But I tell you what, if you can pull this off, I'll give you a golden spatula.
How about a driver's license instead?
Nice try.
Alright, so our main objective for this level is, as Mrs. Puff said, to collect all the steering wheels. And there are 11 of these hidden throughout the city, and I will be showing you the locations of every single one of them. So here's the first of 11 located in plain sight right here. And there's another one you can see right up there, but we're not going to get that just yet. We're going to get that in a second. First, we're going to head over to the right side of the area, and I'm going to introduce you to a new type of enemy, the Chomp Bot. Now, the Chomp Bot can also be destroyed in one hit just like that. But you notice that they also, unlike previous enemies, they can actually spit out a giant cloud of toxic gas, which can do damage to you if you touch that cloud. So you want to make sure you stay far away from that. And again, just like the other enemies, they have a very predictable animation that you can see and react to. So whenever they rear their heads, that means they're about to spit toxic gas at you. So it's pretty easy to predict that and sidestep it to attack them. Now then, you'll find a sock hidden inside this this toppled building right here. So you can just grab that real quick. But the main event that's over here, as I'm sure you've noticed, is this giant statue and all these towers of tikis that you can find. Now the goal here is to activate to blow them all up using the Thunder Tiki so that you can reach the buttons hidden beneath them. Now, for some of them, like this one, you can just jump on top of this rock and on top of the lamp, and then activate the Thunder Tiki yourself, and then hit the button. But for some of them, they're just a little bit out of reach, as you can see. So the only way to hit them is to stand in front of them like this, and then jump upward to trick the cannon behind the Tower of Tikis into hitting the Thunder Tiki up top, just like that. And then you can hit the button. And it's the same for all of these. This one, of course, you also need to trick the cannon into hitting, so just make sure you stand in front of it and keep jumping so that it shoots the things at the as high as possible in order to hit the Thunder Tiki. This one you can just jump on top of the rock and manually hit yourself, and then you can hit the final button with a bubble bounce, and that will drop an anvil out of the sky, crush the cannon, and spawn a golden spatula on top of the statue right here, which can be easily obtained by doing a simple bit of platforming. First jump on top of the leg right here, then on top of this little gear, then on top of the head, and the golden spatula is yours to collect. Nice and simple little challenge to start things off for Downtown Bikini Bottom. Now we're gonna head over this way, and we can actually collect that second, the second wheel that I was mentioning earlier. Now, as you can see, right now it's just a little bit out of reach, but don't worry, there is a way to get it. Yeah, I'll explain that in a second. So as you can see, we can try to bubble bash our way into it, just like this, and it will be ours. I don't think you're supposed to be able to do that, but you can just bubble bash like this, and then it'll automatically warp its way towards you. And I'll explain why I got it this way a little bit later, but just know that this is getting it by just bubble bashing outside the awning like this will make things significantly easier for us a little bit later down the line. Anyway, moving on, you want to first, before you touch this button, I recommend you walk into this thing right here just to get a feel for the controls. So this is a sponge ball, and basically it turns SpongeBob into a ball, and then he can roll around at the speed of sound, which increases his movement speed, but also decreases maneuverability significantly, as I'm sure you've noticed, and of course he can't jump while we're doing this. But basically the point here is that it's also very physics-based, so as you can see, if you get enough speed, you can kind of bounce off surfaces to kind of to reach new heights and all. I'll show off some instances in which that's actually useful. Actually, I'll show off one of those later in this video. But for now, all you have to do is bubble bounce on this button right here, quickly hit the sponge ball, then just drive or just roll in a straight line and make it across this threshold before the fence closes. Because if you make it across before the timer runs out, then it'll be open forever. But if you don't, somehow, then it'll close and you have to try again. Pretty simple. Now then, let's meet a new enemy. This robot is called G-Love. The best way to deal with him is to bubble bounce him from above. Well, right now it's the only way we can deal with him because we cannot attack him from the side with our spin attack because he can attack you all around. He can attack from all around him in a 360-degree area like this. So the only way to attack him right now is Spongebob is to double jump on top of him, then bubble bounce, and attack him from above just like this. There will be other ways to attack him with the other characters, but for now, all you can do is just bubble bounce on top of him. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to go ahead and grab this real quick so that we can replenish our health before we move on, because we took a little bit of damage in that last section. Now, before you hit this sponge ball, or I mean, you can touch the sponge ball just to kind of make moving around a little bit faster, but you don't want to hit that bubble, you don't want to hit the button just yet, because we have some things to take care of. First off, this part isn't required, but if you want to, you can grab a health point right here, and then also activate this Thunder Tiki so that you can blow open this fence, so that you now have yet another access point between the beginning of the level and this section. There is that gate over there, but this is just a little bit of a faster shortcut to make maneuvering around the city. It's a little bit more efficient. Now, more importantly, what is actually required is you have to come over here and grab your third steering wheel. First, make sure you take care of this G-Love by bouncing on top of him to make collecting it easier. Grab the third steering wheel, and now that we've taken care of that, we can head back around here. One final non-required thing is if you bounce them on top of this trampoline and then land on these tikis and then jump your way around them, there's a blue shiny object waiting for you right up here. Again, not required, but it does help with increasing that shiny object count. Okay, now we can get serious. So, as I'm sure you can tell, this is another bit of a fence minigame where you have to make it across the fence in time before it closes. But unlike the last one, it's a little bit tougher because, for one, it's much further away. Also, there's some obstacles in your way this time. It's not just a straight shot. So you have to carefully steer around these piles of tartar sauce to make sure you don't touch them. Because if you touch them, I'll demonstrate that real quickly. If you touch them, it will immediately rip you out of the sponge ball form. So you want to make sure you don't touch any of them. Now then, if you want to do a practice run where you just kind of try to get to the end even without hitting the button to just make sure you're familiar with the controls, you can do that. But once you feel like you're ready and comfortable with controlling sponge ball, then you can bubble bounce right here. Wait for the cutscene to conclude, then grab the sponge ball, steer around the tartar sauce, and then you should have a straight shot to the end of the line, and you can grab this in case you took any damage along the way. And, of course, you also want to make sure you hit the Thunder Tiki, so if you ever need to backtrack for any reason, the pathway is open to you. Basically, you just want to try to open up as many routes around the city as you possibly can. Anyway, if you want some extra shiny objects, what you can do is you can go ahead and activate this Thunder Tiki right here, and then sit back and watch the fireworks, because once you step away, the Shush Tikis will spawn back in, and it'll automatically destroy all of them, giving you some extra shiny objects. Now then, what you really want to do is keep moving over here, and you want to either spin attack this thing, or just bump into it and then walk away so that it'll explode, and then give you access to the button. Either one works. One way just doesn't allow you to take damage, but if you take damage from attacking the Thunder Tiki, there's a piece of underwear directly above you, you can take to replenish your health. But now, you want to bubble bounce this button to cause a ramp to spawn in, and as I'm sure you could discern, we're going to need to use the sponge ball to bounce our way across this gap. Now, it's actually not as bad as you think it is. Basically, all you have to do is just walk into the sponge ball, hold the left stick forward at full speed, and then you'll bounce off the boat, then press the B button, and then you can double jump your way to safety. So basically, the reason I press the B button there is because if you press here, I'll demonstrate that again. If you press the A, there's two ways to get out of the SpongeBob form: the A button and the B button. If you press the A button, that will count as a jump input, and you won't be able to jump again. But if you press the B button to get out of it, then you'll be able to do a double jump to make it to safety. So again, just roll across the ramp, hit the boat, press B, and then double jump your way to safety. You shouldn't have to do that. I'll demonstrate that one last time. It is entirely possible to make it across this gap without actually ever leaving the SpongeBob form. You should have enough momentum to make your way across even without it. But just in case something goes wrong along the way, in case you're not fully familiar with the SpongeBob controls just yet, you can use the B and then double jump method just as a safety measure. Totally up to you. But as I demonstrated there, it is possible both ways. Anyway, I recommend taking out the G-Love before the Chomp Bot. But, you know, it's up to you as to what order you actually take these guys out in, because nothing here is going to be too big of a threat to you just yet. But what is a bit of a problem is this, this house is just launching, household appliances at us, so if you want to stop them from happening, hold bounce the button to shut the window and make sure that it can't launch anything else at you. Now then, here's Bubble Buddy.
This door is locked from the inside. Who would do such a thing?
Keep this building in mind for later, because it's not going to be the last time that we see it, during our adventures in Downtown Bikini Bottom. Anyway, it's been a while since we've collected the socks. Let's go ahead and collect another one. Simply bounce on top of this trampoline, hop across these platforms, and then you'll see the sock waiting for you at the top of this third platform right here, which we can collect. Now, here is an instance in which I, so remember when I said I'm gonna show off some physics for the sponge ball? Well, here's one of them. So what I recommend you do is, here, let me show you what we're trying to do. The end game here is we're going to go up this ramp right here, but instead of just launching ourselves through this little, through this hole like the game wants you to do, what we're going to do instead is we are going to actually, once we get to the top of the ramp, we're going to turn the camera in this direction, so that the SpongeBob will move to the right as the camera turns. Then you want to press the B button to get out of the SpongeBob form, and then double jump your way up on top of this awning right here, and then we can jump off of this awning onto the boat like so, and from here we'll be able to collect that steering wheel. So it's a pretty tricky maneuver, but it's not too bad once you get the hang of the SpongeBob control. So I'll demonstrate it real quick, and then you can try it out for yourself. So here's what we're going to do. So like I said, we're going to roll full steam ahead, turn the camera to the right once we get to the top of the ramp, press B, A, and then A again, and you'll land on top of the awning. So yeah, it's a bit of, it can look a little bit intimidating when you first see it pull off, but it's actually not that bad, just as long as you understand the basics of how the SpongeBob works, and that, like I said at the end of the last episode, turning with the camera will help you achieve greater turn speed when you do that. And once you make it up here, you can hop on top of the boat and collect your steering wheel. In fact, I'll actually demonstrate that one more time, just to show, it's for another demonstration of how exactly this this trick functions. If you're having trouble, then what I recommend doing is waiting until you get to the absolute top of the ramp, and then you can start turning the camera kind of like this, B and then A again, and you can also do a little bit of an extra spin solve to help you extend your momentum as long as possible to make your way up here. It might take you a couple tricks to get it down, but trust me, this is just another way to make things easier, because there is another way to get that steering wheel, but trust me, doing this in the long run will make things much easier for us. Anyway, so before we actually jump through that hole, we're going to do one more thing, and what that is, we're going to head to the Sea Needle, because this is an area that's, you know, it's kind of on the way, where we're going to do this, and then we're going to go on with the rest of the level. Oh, dear lord, I didn't see you behind me. But it does cost shiny objects, so if you've been keeping up with the walkthrough and you've been collecting everything that I have, then you should have way more than enough. In fact, you should have over double what's required to actually get into the Sea Needle, which is, you need only 2100 shiny objects. So, assuming you have that, you can feed the clan the shiny objects required to head into the Sea Needle, and there's more than one reason we're going to do this now. One reason is, of course, it's on the way for the rest of the level, but also because it's kind of a pain, and I just want to get it out of the way as soon as possible. So let's go do the Sea Needle.
Ah, there you are, boy. Someone's broken the Sea Needle.
That's horrible. The Sea Needle is the cradle of Crochet Corner.
Yes, yes it is. But what's more important is that there are tikis and shiny objects just outside the windows.
Mr. Krabs, how can you think of money at a time like this?
Easy. I just clear my mind. Money, money, money. Now listen here, boy. You know that I'll give you golden spatulas if you bring me shiny objects. But I'm going to sweeten the deal. If you can break all the tikis here at the Sea Needle, I'll give you a bonus golden spatula.
Why would I want to break the tikis, Mr. Krabs?
Because they were laughing at you and calling you funny names.
What kind of funny names?
You know, Spongebob Butt Pants.
That's not very funny.
No. But they said your mom was ugly.
Ugly? All right, Mr. Krabs, break them I shall. You've got a deal.
Okay, so this is basically just a Bungee Gauntlet. There's 3 bungee challenges we have to complete. One at the west door, one at the north door, and one at the east door. And the south door is going to remain a mystery for just a little while longer. We're not going to be able to access the south door for about 10 more episodes. But we will be able to get there at some point. But for today, all we can do is access the west, north, and east doors. And if you're wondering why we can't access the south door yet, this would be why. It's kind of just a giant gaping hole between us and getting over there. But there is something over there that we will eventually be able to access. But for now, we're just going to stick true, or just stick to these three, walk up to the window, and that'll cause the bungee to descend from the sky. Just jump onto the bungee, and then we can begin diving down. And there really isn't much advice I can give here. It's pretty straightforward. You just bungee yourself down, and then you can smash all the tikis, and it's really that simple. The only tip that I can give is that you'll notice that if SpongeBob hits the underside of a tiki after he finishes diving, that will reset the timer for, or that'll reset the value for how long it takes for you to be able to start diving again. So ordinarily, when you press the A button to dive down, you have to wait until you reach the top again, like once you spring back to the top in order to dive again. But if you hit the underside of a tiki, then that'll reset that timer, and then you can just you can dive again. So it shortens the time you have to wait between dives, essentially. Is the simple version of what I'm trying to say there. Anyway, before you hit the next window, you want to come down here, make sure you get the steering wheel, and also hit this button so that you can open the doorway back to access the central hub area right here. We're going to do this for all the doors so that we can easily traverse the sea needle later if we ever have to. Anyway, that's one window down. Now onto window number 2 at the north window. Jump out here. And I'll try to demonstrate this. So if I dive down and hit the underside of the tiki like this, that resets the timer. Whereas ordinarily I would have had to wait. Like if I don't hit anything after this and I just hands off the controller, I can't dive until I get to the very top again. So it's a nice little trick that you can use to kind of reduce the waiting period between dives. Because let me tell you, the sea needle, kind of a pain. It's kind of just monotonous, you know, dive again and again and again and again. But it is cool that you get to see the entire world from up here. You can see the whole city, you can see Jellyfish Fields, Sand Mountain, and some other areas in the distance that we're gonna get to way later down the line. And you can even see SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick's houses down there. It's a nice little overview of the whole world. Okay, so this enemy hasn't been introduced yet, but I need to introduce it right now. One of the most dangerous in the entire game, Chuck. Fires laser-accurate missiles that don't just aim for you, but this enemy is smart. It knows to lead its shots and try to predict where you're going to go. So if it knows you're going to jump on a platform ahead of you, it may ignore where you currently are and try to shoot the platform ahead of you. So you want to be very careful of this. So you want to try to outsmart it so that you can try to bait exactly where it's going to go like that, and then you can have a straight shot to attack it. Because once you get close enough to attack it, it's no big deal. It goes down to one hit. But it's getting close enough to do that without getting bonked by one of its projectiles that can be a little tough. But if you're familiar with how the AI works, basically just try to bait it. Like what I did is I hung back a little bit so that I could bait it into firing me right here. Because I wasn't trying to jump, it didn't think I was going to move anywhere, so I could try to bait it into firing behind me. Then I can sneak past it and then attack it like this. So it's just kind of tricks of the trade. Anyway, before we hit the final window, we want to head in here to grab ourselves some underwear to replenish our health and the steering wheel right here. That's 6 out of the 11. We're over halfway done at this point of collecting all the steering wheels. Now we'll go over to the east window and complete our final bungee challenge of the sea needle, and then we can go collect our reward from Mr. Krabs and continue on with the rest of Downtown Bikini Bottom. Oh, and one more thing that you might notice is that I've been aiming for Thunder Tikis as much as I can, because obviously if you hit a Thunder Tiki, that will... am I stuck? I think I might actually be stuck. Yeah, it's a little... I think I'm gonna have to reset this because it looked like... kind of looked like SpongeBob was a little stuck there for a second. I don't know why. But yeah, I'm aiming for Thunder Tikis because obviously if you hit a Thunder Tiki, it'll explode, and that will cause a bit of a... that'll try to damage more Thunder Tikis than just one. So yeah, you want to try to aim for those whenever you can to maximize the amount of Tikis you'll be able to destroy at any given time. It's even worth it to try to tank the shot. So if you get the chance to just kind of dive straight into a Thunder Tiki, it may be worth it to tank the shot because there's plenty of health points you can use to regenerate around the sea needle. But no matter what, once you hit them all, you'll hear the celebratory sound effect that plays, and then you'll know that you're good to head back to the central area and collect your reward from Mr. Krabs.
Here's the golden spatula, like I promised.
And there is our reward for clearing out the sea needle. Now, we're not done just yet. In fact, if you actually check the main menu, or the pause menu, you'll see that there is another spatula over here called, literally labeled, Come Back with the Cruise Bubble. So, you know, we're not quite done yet, but we will be back here. It'll be a while before we come back here. It'll be roughly 10 episodes before we actually come back here to finish what we started. So just hang on to the sea needle in your brain for a little while longer, and we'll be back here eventually. But for now, we're going to head back to downtown streets and continue our adventures throughout the main city. And now, it's actually time for me to introduce you guys to the third and final playable character of the game, who I mentioned in the last episode, is Sandy. So, this time we're actually going to just go the way the game wants us to and go straight through this hole. Once you get to the top of the ramp, I still recommend pressing the B button and then jumping twice to make sure you make it through the hole, because sometimes the game can be a little finicky with whether or not you actually make it through that hole without jumping, so I recommend you do that just to make sure. And then, of course, destroy the Duplicatotron so that it'll blow open a hole here, so you never have to use this ramp ever again for anything ever. But now it's time to talk to Gary.
Hi, Gary. Meow. Yes, thanks for noticing. I have been working out. Meow. Not done? Doesn't that mean meow? Oh, that's the entrance to the rooftops, which leads to the lighthouse? Uh-huh. There's another golden spatula. I could really use that. Meow. What do you mean, get Sandy to help me? I can get through this. Meow, meow. Oh, that gap looks big. Okay, I'm definitely not making that jump. How is anyone going to get across there? Uh-oh, more robots. Holy Dutchman's ghost! That gap looks impossible! And impassable! Okay, I'll go get Sandy to help me out.
Okay, so we'll activate the teleport box down here, just in case. And now it's time to jump up these 3 steps after we hit the Thunder Tiki to make sure we can open up the pathway for us to return later. And this Thunder Tiki so we can get some extra shiny objects. Hop up these 3 steps and use the bus stop to change into Sandy. Okay, so here's how Sandy works. She is just as maneuverable as the other characters. She can still use the X button to attack like this, but she doesn't have a Bubble Bash, and she doesn't have a Ground Slam attack like the other 2 characters. But what she does have is if you jump once, twice, and then 3 times and hold the A button on the 3rd jump, you will float and hover with her lasso. So she has the ability to soar across gaps, which already makes her the character that is most maneuverable in terms of, like, the distance she can clear, without the use of exploits, of course. And she has some more cool tricks later that I'm going to show off a bit later, but for now, we're just going to focus on the fact that she can glide, and that's the thing you want to focus on right now. Now, you may remember this section from earlier as that's the boat that the steering wheel is on top of, and had we waited to get it, we would have had to drop down onto that boat to get the steering wheel, and then come back around the long way to get back up to this point. Because we already got it, we can just continue along our merry little way, and glide across this gap like so, without ever having to leave the rooftops. We will have to leave the rooftops a single time to get one of the upcoming socks, but for the most part, we can just stay up here without any problems whatsoever. So this is the part where we actually have to get off. We have to jump off onto this toppled building, hover across the gap, and grab this sock right here. Oh, also she can attack midair. I forgot to mention that. If you jump and then press X midair, she can attack like that with a little bit of a kick attack, which is pretty cool. Now, to get back to where we need to go, what we're going to do is we're going to head over to where this trampoline is. You can see it next to Bubble Buddy. And we're going to use the height that we gained from this trampoline to bounce ourselves back up on top of the rooftop. So we'll just go ahead and bounce ourselves up here, and then glide on top of this red roof right here, or this red ledge right here, hop up to this point, and now we are on a straight course, or straight shot to the end of this section of the level. That was the only time we're going to have to leave the rooftops, but I will show you the other part in which you would have had to leave the rooftops had we not collected the steering wheel in the way that we did. So, Sandy can do a chop attack by pressing the X button, as I demonstrated, yes, of course, but there's one more thing about Sandy that is pretty crucial, and that is her lasso. Sandy can lasso the objects by pressing the B button. So similar to the way that Patrick can pick things up and throw them at enemies from a distance, so he can attack from a distance, Sandy can also use her lasso to attack enemies and tikis from a distance like this. But there's one more thing you can do that'll show you in a second. Before I get to that, if you look down, that awning right below me is where that steering wheel was at the beginning of the level. And did I just fall? No, okay, I thought I might have just fallen by accident. But yeah, had we not gotten it earlier, we would have had to drop down there to get it, and then go back around the long way to get back up to this point, which we would not have wanted to do. So, but the last thing that Sandy's lasso can do is swing across gaps. Sandy can swing from a swing hook by pressing the B button. So if you jump out to this little Texas glider thing, and wait for the hand to appear, then press the B button, you will hook onto it, and then you can swing between the gaps like this, like Indiana Jones, and it is awesome. We're going to be able to chain some pretty cool jumps together over the course of the game in the later levels, but for now I'm going to show you how to use her lasso against enemies like this. Again, the hand is very useful. It'll always show you when you're locked onto something, whether it be an enemy or a tiki or a swing hook, whatever the case may be. It'll let you know when you're hooked on, and then you can use the B button to lasso it appropriately and take it out instantly. because that's the thing, her lasso will take out every single enemy instantly, no matter how strong they may be. Even tartar sauce will go down in a single hit so long as you hit it with the lasso, which is awesome. Okay, so for as tempting as it is to swing across this gap, like back to back to back by chaining reactions or chaining hooks together just like this, we're actually not going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to turn right on this swing hook and then space the jumps between the A button presses as much as possible. So like I mentioned in the last episode, you want to wait as long as possible. So instead of like mashing the A button like this, you want to wait as long as you can between pressing the A button to make sure you maximize the distance you're gonna fly to land on this building and collect the sock hiding back around here. Then float out to this building, which is toppled over, to collect the steering wheel right here. Then we're going to stand on top of this cannon and use the extra height we gain from it to float our way back over here and collect the golden spatula at the end of the downtown streets. That was a lot of stuff for that one opening section of Downtown Bikini Bottom. We covered a lot of ground. We covered the entire city, both on the ground and in the sky. And we also went to the Sea Needle and introduced you to the third and final playable character for this game. So, it was quite a jam-packed episode, and I hope you're able to follow along pretty nicely. We've covered a lot of ground. We got 7 out of 11 steering wheels. We have a total of 10 socks and 15 golden spatulas. And we're on course and set and ready to head to the downtown rooftops and continue our adventures in Downtown Bikini Bottom. But that'll be it for now, so thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time to catch you all tomorrow for some more Spongebob Squarepants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Goodbye!